In this video, I want to show you some really simple ways you can make an accurate square grid so that you can take a small shape and make it big, or a big shape and make it small. Now, if you have access to a printer, you can go online and print out various grids of sizes. The left is 1 inch, the middle is ½ inch, and the one I'm lifting up is a ½ inch. The size of your grid really depends on how much detail you need to be able to transfer. Mine is a fairly simple shape, so I went with a 1 inch grid. I also realized that my cutting mat has a 1 inch grid on it, and so I also could have just used that for my small grid. So if you're going to make your own grid paper, you will need a ruler. I love having an assortment of clear rulers on hand so that I can just use that to quickly trace different widths. But if you don't have that, one of these metal rulers will also work just fine. They're also nice because they have cork backing on them so they don't slide around. So for the first method, I'm going to show you just taking the width of something like your ruler, lining it up with the square edge of a sheet of paper, and then just simply tracing that, moving it over the width of the ruler, tracing that, and then continuing to move your way over, just making sure you're lining up from top to bottom, and you can make your grid that way. If your ruler is just a little bit too big for the size grid you want, you can also use it to measure and make a specific size grid. So let's say I want a 1 inch by 1 inch grid. The best method is to trace an inch marking all along the bottom and then also along the top edge. This way you can take your ruler and connect the dots from the top to the bottom and be much more likely to make a parallel line, as opposed to something that you're just sort of guessing if it's going straight or not. So by connecting those dots from the top to the bottom, you're much more accurate. You'll repeat the same thing on the other two sides, so the top and the bottom will get markings, and you'll connect those dots. So here I have created a 1 inch grid pattern using my ruler as the guide. The version where I trace the width of the ruler so it's slightly bigger, or the printout copy. Any one of those is going to work just fine. Next, you're going to have to transfer the grid to a larger sheet of paper. The size of your grid will be dependent upon the size of the enlargement that you need to make. So proportionally, mine ended up that I needed a 3½ inch grid in order to get the base of my shoe at 24 inches. I'll link to some math in your homework assignment so you can figure out what size grid that you will need.